City County Planning Commission, please come to order. Jessica, if you'll call the roll, please.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Rich?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Vitale?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Balance?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Clark? Commissioner Unseld?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Graham?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Volkert? Commissioner Gay?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Warren? Commissioner Madison?
Ma'am.
Commissioner Runner? Chair Houston?
Yes, ma'am. Everyone's had a chance to go over the minutes from last meeting. We'll need approval for those. unless
moved.
there's change.
Second.
Commissioner Rich?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Vitale?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Balance? Commissioner Clark? Commissioner Unseld?
Ma'am.
Commissioner Graham?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Gay?
Ma'am.
Commissioner Warren?
Ma'am.
Commissioner Madison?
Ma'am.
Chair Houston?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Houston, please order the record to include all statutory and regulatory provisions, the Commission's entire file for each application, and for the application, and the qualifications of each staff witness. I request that you administer the oath to those witnesses.
Tell the truth. Thank you. We have no subdivisions or site development plans this evening, nor letters of credits or performance bonds. Old business, so we'll move into the public hearings. And I'd like to make an announcement if anyone's here for the 2019 49Z County CMC properties that has been withdrawn. So we will not be hearing that tonight. 2019-08 Flume River LLC, care of Kevin Goff, has filed an application for a future land use map amendment on a tract of land containing approximately 4.246 acres located at 687 Beech Bend Road from agriculture to rural density residential. And along with that, if that is passed, we have 48Z County River LLC has filed an application to rezone a tract of land containing approximately 4.246 acres located at 687 Beech Bend Road from agriculture and floodplain to RE residential estate and floodplain with a general development plan. And Rachel, go ahead.
Thank you,
Thank
Chair
you.
Houston. We had a pre-application conference on November the 6th for the property you just described located on Beech Bend Road. The current zoning of the property is agriculture, and as you mentioned, a portion of the property is located in the floodplain. The current use of the property is residential, and you can see that there are several agricultural uses in the area with a few residential uses also located along Beech Bend Road, and there are some industrial uses on the south side of the river. The current future land use map designation is agriculture. This category applies to rural areas relatively remote from the expanding rural suburban fringe, where agricultural uses are predominant with small and large-scale farm operations. This classification can also include undeveloped areas used for open space and large tract single-family residential property. And as you mentioned, Mr. Houston, the applicant this evening has applied for a future land use map amendment to rural density residential. This designation applies to those areas relatively close to the suburban fringe and also applies to areas where property fragmentation has occurred within unincorporated areas or near farming activities through provisions for exception lots in the Ag Zoning District or through rezoning and incremental subdivision of land as residential estate lots with gross densities ranging from 0 to 1 dwelling units per acre. LU 1.1.4 from the Focus 2030 Comprehensive Plan outlines the procedures for amending the future land use map, and the Planning Commission's approval of a future land use map amendment should be based on at least one of the 3 criteria listed on page 2. Those are there for your reference, and to address these findings, the applicant submitted the narrative that's at the bottom of page 2. I'll read that for you. It states that the applicant submits that the flume is consistent with the historic land uses along Beech Bend Road. The primary residence was constructed in 1918 according to the PVA and almost all of their homes along Beech Bend Road are old construction. Amending the flume to rural density residential would be consistent with the historic land uses of properties this size in the area. In addition, applicant submits that the proposed use is compatible with the existing surrounding development. For example, all of the homes constructed along Beech Bend Road are single-family, 1 or 2-story dwellings constructed of masonry and or wood materials situated on lots ranging from 14 acres to 1 acre. The structures are or will be consistent with other residences along Beech Bend Road with regard to building height, building materials, intensity of use, density of development, and location of parking. Specifically, the existing structure, and I will jump to the exhibit here, on Lot 1-1 is a brick 1-story single-family ranch house and is utilized solely as a single-family residence with off-street and garage parking. So that's referencing this house here. The existing structure on Lot 1-3 over here is a 2-story log cabin structure and is utilized as a single-family residence with off-street parking. The proposed structure on Lot 1-2, that's the middle lot that's proposed there, would be a 2-story single-family residence with off-street parking. The exterior would consist of real stone and hardy board. The proposed amendment will not result in development that exceeds the capacity of existing infrastructure. Specifically, the road traffic will not be substantially increased. There is sufficient water to supply the property and surrounding areas, and all of the properties are or will be serviced by a septic system. Moving on to page 3, under the site characteristics review, under layout, lot sizes, and setbacks, you can see that the applicant is proposing to subdivide the existing tract into 3 properties. Each of the 2 existing structures would be platted on its own lot with the potential to develop an additional residential structure in the middle lot that's shown on the screen. Under natural features, I'll jump back to the aerial. Staff has noted that the property is heavily wooded and that the Barren River runs along the rear portion of the property. Under soil suitability, the property contains a soil type that is classified as somewhat limited regarding soil suitability for septic tank absorption fields. And then I'm going to jump back to the land use map and reference the surrounding density. The tracts in the vicinity are mainly agricultural. You can see those agricultural tracts to the north here. And we've also noted that there are several single-family tracts as you're coming out Beech Bend Road here. Those are the yellow properties there. Then moving on to page 4, under the general development plan and development plan conditions. The applicant submitted 9 development plan conditions as part of the application to help address compliance with the Focus 2030 Comprehensive Plan. Number 1, no mobile homes, manufactured homes, or modular homes. Number 2, all new residences shall be a minimum of 1,400 square feet of living space. Number 3, the development shall be limited to a maximum of 3 lots. Number 4, all homes shall be constructed of brick, stone, hardy board, or concrete-based siding. Plain face block is prohibited on any exposed foundation. 5, the applicant shall obtain a site evaluation from the Barren River District Health Department for the installation of a septic system on each lot prior to the recording of the plat. 6, the location of any proposed driveway shall be coordinated with Warren County Public Works prior to the application for a building permit. 7, all existing healthy trees located on the proposed lots within the development with a caliper of 12 inches or greater and which are located within 15 feet of the roadway will be preserved. With regard to the remainder of the property, any existing healthy tree over 8 inches that can be preserved will be preserved. 8, any new residence constructed on the property will be oriented to face Beech Bend Road. And 9, any driveway providing ingress and egress to any new residence will be constructed of asphalt, concrete, or similar material. Next, moving on to the Focus 2030 category review. Staff evaluated 14 items and found that the application complies with 8 of these items. There are 6 items from the comprehensive plan that the Planning Commission should evaluate for compliance, and I will touch on those. The first is LU 1.1.3, which looks at compatibility. The Planning Commission should determine if the proposal is compatible with the area. Next, LU 2, which looks at quality of development. The Planning Commission should determine if the proposal is a high-quality development that includes design standards tailored to preserve the character of the area. Next, on page 5, LU 252, which looks at infill development and compatibility. The Planning Commission should determine if the proposed infill development is compatible with the surrounding area. Next, HN 1.3. The Planning Commission should determine if the proposed infill development will strengthen the existing neighborhoods and districts. And then finally, HN 2.1 and HN 4, which look at housing options and suitability of the proposed housing type. The Planning Commission should determine if the location of the planned development is suitable for the proposed housing type, and if the proposed residences are believed to enhance the array of housing options available in the area. Moving on to the staff review summary, there's just a couple of items I want to point out in the summary here. The first, staff has just noted that the existing structure on proposed lot 1-3, there was a permit issued for that structure in 2014 for a 648 square foot accessory apartment. That's the existing log cabin that's here. The zoning ordinance does not permit two primary residential structures on the same tract of land, and so this structure was permitted under the accessory apartment provisions of the zoning ordinance at the time in 2014. The structure, however, when it was built to contain 1,456 square feet and exceeds the square footage that's permitted for accessory apartments in the zoning ordinance. So if the future land use map amendment and rezoning applications are approved this evening, that would allow the applicant to subdivide the property as shown on the layout here, and thus would bring the property into compliance regarding the two primary structures that are currently on the property. The other thing that staff has noted, during the review of the application, it was brought to our attention that the current residence on proposed lot 1-3 is listed on various online platforms, such as Vacation Rentals by Owner and HomeAway as a short-term rental property. This is not a permitted use in the current zone, and it's not a permitted use in the proposed zone. So this use should cease until such time that the applicant makes an application and seeks approval for a conditional use permit through the Board of Adjustments to allow that use to continue. So those are just two items that I wanted to touch on in the review summary there. With that, I will jump back to page 1 and finish up with the points to consider. The Planning Commission should consider if the argument provided by the applicant to amend the future land use map meets the criteria outlined in LU 1.1.4 of the comprehensive plan. If the future land use map amendment is approved, the proposal would be consistent with the future land use map and rural density residential category. The proposed development complies with the majority of the site characteristics review criteria, and the proposed general development plan complies with some of the review criteria for site design. Compatibility of the proposed development should be determined by the Planning Commission. And last, the proposed development meets the minimum requirements in the zoning ordinance, with exceptions noted relating to the existing short-term rental use that is operating on the property and the square footage of the existing log cabin that exceeds the maximum amount permitted for accessory apartments in the zoning ordinance. I believe that's all for the staff report, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Actually, I think you've answered this question, but I want to make sure I'm clear. I see two structures here, but I think what you're conveying to us is that this is all on the same lot.
Correct. Right now, it's just one piece of property. If you look at that thick black line, that's the current boundary of the property. It's just one tract of land. Mm-hmm.
Is there currently a code enforcement action on this property?
No.
They've been getting, how long has it been a rental place?
I'm not sure. The applicant may be able to answer that question.
Commissioners, any other questions for Rachel? If not, then we'll hear from the applicant.
Thank you.
Okay, if you'll come to the mic and state your name and let me
My name's
swear.
Kevin Goff. I'm the applicant, also the attorney for River LLC.
Swear to tell the truth.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Golf, I have a question. So the lot 3, you all are going to comply, this is not going to be a short-term rental?
Probably should have put it in an email to Ms. Hurt. Once I was notified of the non-compliance, I removed it from any, the only one I have not removed it from because I forgot is vacation.
I was still listed on VRBO and HomeAway this afternoon when I checked.
You refresh my recollection, I removed it from Airbnb. That's the primary site in which it's been used. I've removed it and do not intend to use it any further until I come in compliance.
So explain the apartment behind it, the addition, potentially.
Talking about the log cabin?
Yeah.
What would you like me to describe?
Going to add on to that?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
That to be a residential, or are you gonna keep trying to make it a rental?
I'm going to intend to use as a long-term rental for a single-family residence.
And one point of clarification, this application for a detached, the original application was a detached,
Adjacent apartment.
an adjacent apartment, and so the log cabin represents this adjacent apartment, is that correct?
That's correct.
The log cabin was what was permitted in 2014 as an accessory apartment to the primary residence, which is on proposed lot 1-1.
Just built too big.
It
1-2.
exceeded the square footage on the permit and what's permitted under, at the time, the square footage for an accessory apartment.
Understood. Goff, how long have you owned the property?
2014.
Okay. And it is your intent, should you use this log cabin structure as a rental, to seek a conditional use permit?
As for a long-term rental, I don't believe that I need one.
Correct. For short-term rental?
correct.
If you choose
In
to
the
go...
event that I elect to do so, yes.
All right.
Rent that out as a residence and not have to have anything, but if he uses it for like a weekend or that kind of thing, he has to get a conditional use, is that correct?
Correct. Anything less than 30 days is considered short-term and would require a conditional use permit. Stays of 30 days or more are just considered household living and are permitted in the zone that's requested.
Any other questions out there? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioners.
Do we have anyone in the audience that is opposed to this or has a question? No. If we have no other questions, no opposition, then we'll call for a motion.
Make the motion to approve the proposed future land use map amendment docket number 2019-8 Flume based upon the testimony and documents presented in this public hearing. Proposed Flume amendment has met the directive to amend the Flume as outlined in LU 114 in the comprehensive plan. Further, I request that this motion include a summary of evidence and testimony presented by the witnesses at this public hearing.
Commissioner Graham,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Unseld,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Clark, Commissioner Balance, Commissioner Vitale, Commissioner Rich,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Gay,
Ma'am.
Commissioner Warren,
Ma'am.
Commissioner Madison,
Yes, ma'am.
Chair Houston.
Yes, ma'am. And now we'll move into the application for the zone change from ag to residential estate.
I make the motion to approve the proposed zoning map amendment together with and conditioned upon the general development plan, docket number 2019-48Z County, based upon the testimony and documents presented in this public hearing. The proposed zoning map amendment is consistent with the adopted Focus 2030 comprehensive plan as demonstrated by its compliance with the objectives and action items presented in the staff report and listed below. Therefore, the proposed zoning map amendment is in agreement with the adopted comprehensive plan. Further, I request that this motion include a summary of the evidence and testimony presented by the witnesses at this public hearing.
Commissioner Clark, Commissioner Unseld,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Graham,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Madison,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Warren,
Ma'am.
Commissioner Gay,
Ma'am.
Commissioner Balance, Commissioner Vitale, Commissioner Rich,
Yes, ma'am.
Chair Houston.
Yes, ma'am. Motion is passed, and we will send this forward. Thank you. New business, we have our schedule for 2020. I think everyone has at their seat. Do we have any questions?
I think the schedule's pretty self-explanatory. That's just there to approve per our bylaws. I just mentioned that February 6th meeting is what we're looking to have our training annual training that we do where we discuss accomplishments and any training and then what we're looking forward to the next year. But we'll have that at the new office as what we're planning to do that. So please put that February 6th date on your calendar. We'll just keep that 6 p.m. time for
The training.
yes, training instead of a meeting. That's where we'll have the meal and all of that. Typically, we do it at Christmas, but we wanted to have it after Christmas. So, at the new office, 920. Yeah,
How's that going,
922
Dan?
State. It's going well.
Good.
Going real well. I think we'll have construction will largely be done this week. We'll have office furniture and equipment start being set up next week, and so by Wednesday afternoon, we may start moving some stuff over. So, but Monday, December 30th is our date. We're telling the public to come to that office. We'll actually be open for business on that Monday, December 30th.
I make a motion that we approve the proposed 2020 meeting schedule for the City County Planning Commission as presented.
Second.
Commissioner Rich,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Vitale, Commissioner Balance, Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner Unseld,
Ma'am.
Commissioner Graham,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Gay,
Ma'am.
Commissioner Warren, Commissioner Madison,
Yes, ma'am.
Chair Houston.
Yes, ma'am. Anyone have anything else to add? If not, we will be adjourned.